first step, we're going to move the 10 over. And we're going to get x squared plus 6x equals negative 10. Okay? Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to take half the 6 and square it. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I add 9 to both sides. And that's kind of the trick. Now, you're always going to get a binomial squared here. And it's always going to be half this middle term with the same sign. When you factor x squared plus 6x plus 9, you get x plus 3 times x plus 3, and you get negative 1. And then to get rid of the square, we square both sides. X plus 3 equals plus or minus I. The square root of 1 is 1, so the square root of negative 1, you have to multiply I. I times 1 is just I. And then we move the 3 over. And that's my answer. Do not forget to put the plus minus. All right, so when we have the coefficient in front of the x squared, we have to divide every term by that first. And we get x squared plus 8x minus 15 equals 0. I'm adding my constant over. X squared plus 8x equals 15. And I'm taking half of 8 and squaring it. Half of 8 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. So now we factor x squared plus 8x plus 16. That factors to 8 plus 4, or x plus 4 squared equals 31. We take the square root of both sides. We get x plus 4 equals plus or minus root 31. If that could be simplified, we simplify it. If it can't, we just leave it. And then you're subtracting 4 on both sides. X equals negative 4 plus or minus root 31. And there's my answer. So my advice with quadratic formula here, A equals 3, B equals negative 5, C equals negative 10. Having good sign integrity matters here. Okay? It absolutely matters. So, in this particular problem, when I put my B in, it's going to be negative 5 plus or minus a negative 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times a negative 10. And that's all going to be over 2 times 3. Negative 5 is a positive 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times negative 10 becomes a positive 120 over 6. So the answer is 5 plus or minus root 145 over 6. Now, I do have to check, does the 145 simplify? Well, 2 obviously doesn't go into it. 3 doesn't go into it. Okay, so I'm bringing this 145 down. 3 doesn't go into 145. 1 plus 4 plus 5 equals 10. 10 is not divisible by 3. 5 does go in. And 5 goes in, if I'm not mistaken, 29 times. Nothing else happens. There's no pair of numbers. So this right here is my answer. If you can't simplify it, you just leave it. Okay. Second one, we have A equals 2, B equals 3, and C equals 12. So it's negative 3 plus or minus 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times 12 over 2 times 2. Negative 3 plus or minus, we have 9 minus 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 12 is 96 over 4. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 87 over 4. Now 87 can break down. We can divide a 3 into it. 3 goes in 29 times. Can't break 29 down anymore. Okay? But there is a negative there. This is required. You never leave a negative in the radical. So my answer is negative 3 plus or minus I root 87 over 4. That's the answer. So we're going to get our A, which is 2, our B, which is 7, and our C, which is 6. So now, 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times 6. Well, that's 49. And 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 6 is 48. We get 1. Is 1 a perfect square? Absolutely. So we get 2 rational roots. So we're looking for the nature of the answers. Here, my A is 1, my B is 4, and my C is 16. So 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 16. 16 minus 64 is a negative 48. Once that number is less than 0, it becomes 2 complex solutions, or 2 complex roots, which essentially means you have 2 roots that are going to have an I in them. Here, we get A equals 4, B equals 20, and C equals 25. So I get 20 squared minus 4 times 4 times 25. Well, that's 400 minus 400, which is 0. So the answer is 1 double root. Essentially, 1 double root is something that can be written as a binomial square. If I were to factor that, I get 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5. I'd get the same answer twice. So therefore, there's only one answer. And finally, A equals 1, C equals 7, and B equals 7, and C equals a negative 14. So 7 squared minus 4 times 1 times that negative 14. We get 49. The double negative becomes positive 56. And that ends up being 105. Now, I might be able to simplify 105. I don't think you can, but regardless, it's not a perfect square. So it's 2 real